Welcome everyone. I am Dr. Sashikala, and in this lecture I am going to move on to the next topic on civilization. Now in my previous lecture I dealt with the two terms culture and civilization. I tried to define it and then also I showed the difference between the two. Now in this lecture we are going to discuss the ancient civilizations of the world. Before moving into the topic, I would like to here make some clarifications regarding the year notations. What do we mean by these year notations? We know that we use AD and BC for denoting the human history. Now AD is a term which means Anno Domini and it has been taken from the Latin language. It simply means in the year of the Lord. Now, in the present times, we sometimes wrongly also use this AD as mean after death, that is, after the death of Jesus Christ. But this is not very accurate. I will tell you the reasons subsequently. Now, the other year notation is, of course, BC, which means before Christ. Now, this is where we use the Julian and the Gregorian calendar for these year notations. Now, the first one was proposed by Julius Caesar, which is the Julian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar was drawn or introduced by Pope Gregory XIII. So, based on these two, we use AD and BC to denote human history. Now, AD is the year which we count from the birth of Jesus Christ, and the years which go before his birth is denoted by BC. But nowadays, there is an argument that the human history should not be related to any particular religion. Since these words are used to abbreviate related to Christianity and its events, there is now a general consensus that we should use a terminology which does not include any Christian terms. So now, this AD and BC have now been changed, and now AD is now abbreviated as CE, which means Common Era, which refers to the years preceding the present era, and the present era, that is the AD, is now used to refer as BC. So here we see that the years which go before the present era or the Common Era is denoted as before Common Era. So these will be the year notations I will use when I talk about the ancient civilizations. Now in my previous lecture, I defined what civilization is. We saw that this is the place where people, when they come to live together in a society, they develop their own culture and improve their way of life. So civilization was marked by an advanced state of both social and cultural development, and also civilization showed the process of reaching this high state. We saw that the humans who came together, they formed societies, and also technological development was seen to be more in such civilizations. So there was a strong bond between the people, both in the socio-cultural aspect as well as in religion. We also saw that only in these civilizations the spoken language was put down as written texts. So advanced writing came into the norm, and of course a government was established to rule the people in these areas. Since the government had established a set of rules to be followed, naturally the people following it became very well-mannered and civilized. So we saw that civilized societies were created where towns and cities were established and the people came to live in a particular order. Now let us move back to the history of mankind in the prehistoric times. So we saw that man, from being a nomad or a savage in forest, came out and started living in established settlements. Now this is where in prehistory we call these eras, that is the Old Stone Age or the Paleolithic, and then we have the New Stone Age, which we call it as the Neolithic. Now this is where man started establishing agricultural settlements. Next comes, now this span of year is taken from 10,000 to 5,000 BCE. So this is where man started rearing plants as well as animals. That is, he domesticated animals and took up agriculture as his way of life. So there was advanced agriculture with various tools done, and also they started settling out in one place instead of moving across frequently. So this is where the nomadic life was changed. Established towns and cities were set up where people started living continuously. Now these are some of the ancient civilizations we usually hear of. Egyptian civilization, Greek civilization, Mesopotamia, Babylonian civilization, ancient Rome, Chinese civilization, and of course the Indus Valley or the Harappan civilization. Let us take each of these civilizations one by one. Now here I am first showing you Mesopotamia. The meaning of this word is from the ancient Greek language, which simply means land between rivers. So this is a Greek word which is taken from the mesos, which simply means middle, and potamos means river. So here you can see the two rivers between which Mesopotamian civilization developed. Now this is said to be the first civilization in human history. Before then, man had not established a big urban settlement, but Mesopotamia is credited to be the first civilization, and it lies between two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates River. Now this is where it separates the Asia Minor from the Persian region. And this Mesopotamian civilization thrived in the modern day Iraq, Syria and Turkey. Now this is where man first started to learn how to cultivate. He started rearing animals to bring up cattle, and also there was a steady supply of food because of agricultural development. Now the year range for the Mesopotamian civilization is credited to be 3300 BCE to 750 BCE. Since this is the very first civilization of the humans, we see that this is characterized by fertile land. Written word was adopted, so naturally it led to its prosperity because of agriculture, and because of the people coming together to live in cities. There was also rich and voluminous literature because written language was invented. It was not just confined to prosperity in terms of agriculture and literature, but also into other fields like mathematics and astronomy. There was a definite social class set up in the Mesopotamian civilization. The first was the king together with the priest who was ruling the land. Then came the elite upper class people, where they were rich merchants. Next came the lower class and the other merchants and the farmers and artisans. And also slavery was quite prominent during that time. This is where slaves who were captured from wars or who owed money to the king and the nobility, they were made to work as the lowest class. Now next we see that this Mesopotamian civilization had big established capitals, which are Assyria and Babylonia. Now Mesopotamian civilization, we know that ancient civilizations were discovered only by archaeologists. This civilization was discovered by two famous British and French adventurers who were Layard and Botta. Now let's see about Egyptian civilization. This civilization was far more advanced of its time, and there was stupendous achievements in a whole range of fields, not just in agriculture, but also in art and architecture, engineering, medicine, as well as in statecraft. So this was a far advanced civilization in that time. Now in this map you can see how the Nile River was the center of the Egyptian civilization. And it also, after the Mesopotamian civilization, credited to be the oldest advanced civilization of the world. So beside the Nile River, the settlers around 3500 BC established the Egyptian civilization. Now there are credited to be various kingdoms which shows the advancement of this civilization. The first one is called the Old Kingdom, which was in the early Bronze Age. The next comes the Middle Kingdom in the Middle Bronze Age, and then finally comes the New Kingdom in the Late Bronze Age. Now these three kingdoms definitely showed advancements from the old kingdom to the new kingdom. Now, the pinnacle was achieved in the new kingdom. This is where the civilization reached its peak. Now, this civilization assured in agriculture, a settled establishment for the people, and it was also known for the development of its rich culture. The pyramids are still a testimony to this living day to show the advancement of this people in their culture and architecture. We also have the Sphinx and the remains of the pharaohs in the pyramids to show the development the civilization achieved. Now next we'll move on to the European civilizations, where the earliest European civilization is said to be the ancient Roman Empire. This was established between 550 BCE to 465 CE, that is the common present era. So we dated back to the 6th century BCE, where kings started ruling this Roman Empire. It also is characterized by the military campaigns this empire took, where it started exercising control over the people by establishing the empire and also expanding it. This was where a senate was also created. Earlier, kings ruled the nation, but later it became a democracy where people came together to form a council known as the Senate. Now, this Senate, which had famous people in it, they exercised their power and control over the land and the people. That's where Roman Republic, it became known as a Roman Republic rather than Roman Empire. Now, some of the greatest rulers of the Roman Republic were Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar. Now, this is the expanse of the Roman Empire around the Mediterranean Sea, as you can see here. Now, this began in the city of Rome in the 753 BCE, and it lasted over 1,000 years. Over the 1,000 years, steadily the land expanse of Roman Empire was expanded. So it ruled much of Europe. It also expanded into Western Asia and Northern Africa. Now, the present day modern Roman language is credited to have begun during this ancient civilization. Now, religion was also firmly established during this period. Of course, Christianity was not prominent religion back then, but it had its own rich traditional and religious establishment. Society was defined with social class, and also much technology was improved during this Roman Empire. We still have the buildings of the Roman Empire as a testimony to their advanced technology. Law created by the rulers was an established set of rules for the people to follow, and politics was expanded and much civilized and advanced in the Roman Empire. The government earlier was based on kings, but later it became a republic, and advanced warfare was used by the Roman Empire. Frequent wars were waged where land was annexed to the expanding Roman Empire. Its greatness is also seen in its art, literature, architecture, as well as its engineering. So we can see that Roman Empire was characterized by skilled administration, organization in the society, and also advanced engineering. The entire Mediterranean area was controlled by the Romans, and they became the most dominant people in Western Europe. They combined military power as well as their established firm political rule together with economic expansion. So these were the characteristics of the ancient Roman Empire. Now we all are familiar with this picture of the Colosseum. This is where it stands till date to show the greatness the Romans had achieved. They used their military prowess and an established and efficient political bureaucracy to rule and expand their empire. Now, after studying Roman Empire, we can see that these are the 5 main characteristics attributed to it. There was staple food supply because agriculture was also an established system. Writing was improved, which led them to bring out a huge voluminous literature. There was an established ruling government. Cities were developed, and of course the social classes were created where each class donated and attributed with their might. Now let us next move to the Greek Empire. Now Greek civilization was even ancient than the Roman civilization. It began in 2700 BCE and continued till 1500 BCE. Now we all are familiar with the present day Olympic Games. We know also that we have to give credit to the ancient Greek Empire for beginning this modern Olympics, which began in 776 BCE, where sports was given much importance. Now the ruling class, they took up the empire, they did not give power to the king, and they established democracy and the Senate. Now geometry was developed here, and also physics and biology was given much importance. Now these are some of the famous people whom we hear of even in the present day who came from ancient Greece. Pythagoras, Archimedes, Euclid, Plato, Socrates, Alexander the Great. Now all these people contributed to the achievements of the Greek Empire, both in the political and philosophical sphere. Art and science was also greatly developed and fostered by these people in ancient Greece. So the land was characterized by commercial interests, and also frequent wars were waged because of the greed as well as the military campaigns taken up by the ancient Greek. Now let us move to the Central and South American empires. We have to understand that these pockets of civilizations were there in the entire sphere of the earth. Now South America has also many famous civilizations. We all will be familiar with the Mayan civilization. Now this civilization was established from 200 to 900 CE. So these were fairly recent than the other European civilizations. Now this civilization can be identified in the present day Mexico and Guatemala region, which is the Yucatan Peninsula. Now they had an advanced hieroglyphic writing, that is using symbols for writing. Astronomy was taken up. They devised the Mayan calendar. Mathematics, sports, as well as step pyramids are one of the iconic symbols of this civilization. They were far advanced than the rest of the nation. They were highly sophisticated, as well as writing system was fairly advanced in this pre-Columbian Americans. Till date, we have evidences of their architecture, art. They were also into mathematics and astronomy, and their calendar is very famous. The next South American civilization is Inca civilization. Again, this picture is very familiar to all of us. This is where this civilization thrived from 200 to 1532 CE, that is a modern common era. This again is in the South American region of Peru, Ecuador and Chile. Now this picture denotes the Machu Picchu, which had also a advanced highway system. The Temple of the Sun is the most famous relic we have now. This civilization was also characterized by an efficient central government. The next is the Aztec civilization, which was established in the present day Mexico. This was from 1345 to 1521 CE. This was established in the central Mexican basin, and the capital was Tenochtitlan, which is the present day Mexican city. Now we have various evidences of the advanced civilization through the historical codices. They had their own monetary system established. They were well into medicine and science, where surgical advances were made, and the Sun Temple is also an evidence of this highly developed civilization. Now let us move to the Asian civilizations. Chinese civilization is said to be the oldest civilization in ancient Asia. In this civilization, you have again the river, Yellow River, coming into prominence, where in northern China it was established between 3rd to 2nd millennia BCE. That is where Chinese civilization is also said to be the oldest civilization in Asia. There were many dynasties which were prominent in their civilization. The first dynasty was the Xia dynasty in ancient China. The other dynasties of prominence are Shang dynasty, which was from 1250 BCE. Now they had their own advanced writing system where historical records were maintained. You know, we will be familiar with Confucianism and Taoism. Chinese civilization is credited for these two systems. Now, the golden age of Chinese civilization is said to be the Tang dynasty, which was established between 618 to 907 CE. Printing was brought in, compass was used for sea voyages, and also in the warfare, gunpowder was used. We all are familiar with the Great Wall of China. Now, the Great Wall of China was built in many centuries through the various dynastic rules. So, most of the Great Wall was built during the Ming dynasty. Han dynasty established the Silk trade route connecting China with Central Asia and Europe. So, they were also engaged in international commerce and trade. Paper making was advanced, that's where printing was also possible for them, and also they were able to predict earthquakes by inventing the seismograph. Now let us move to the most famous Asian civilization, which is the Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization is an ancient and urban civilization of India, and this dates back even further than the Chinese civilization. In the present day, we call this civilization to be Harappan or a Mohenjo-daro civilization, but the right term for this civilization is Indus-Saraswati civilization. Now, this began in 7000 BCE and advanced and came up to nearly 300 BCE. This was also the largest civilization in the ancient world. No other civilization had a large area coming under any civilization. This is now, of course, called as the Harappan civilization, and it expanded across the plains of the Indus River right from the Arabian Sea to the Gangetic Plain. This is also said to be the most populous civilizations in the ancient times, where it was estimated to hold more than 5 million people. Thus, it became the largest civilizations, more than the Egyptian as well as the Mesopotamian civilization. Now again, if you take back the historical periods of this civilization, they were divided right from 7000 BCE to the 300 BCE into various eras. So earlier there were food producing era, then came regionalism, integration, localization, and then came the Indo-Gangetic tradition. So here they are divided into various periods right from the Neolithic and to the Iron Age. So we can see how far and advanced this civilization was from 7000 to 200 BCE. Now this civilization flourished in the Indus Valley, where the major rivers of the Asia and the Saraswati unite, and also the Gagar-Hakra river. Now we have to see that this civilization was also characterized by trade and commerce with the outside world, especially with the Gulf regions and all the way to the southern Mesopotamian civilization. There was much export as well as import. So they traded in all types of materials to the outside world. And also they took up sea voyages by building ships and also sailing to these distant lands. Also, land and transportation system was much highly developed through the highway system in the Indus-Saraswati civilization. Now these are the relics we still have till date to show how advanced they were in art and craft also. Now the other features of this civilization are the planned towns and cities where they had drainage, sewers as well as baths established. The decimal system was the first one to be developed in the civilization. Town planning was done with the help of knowledge in geometry. Also, weights were created to aid their trade. Now, after seeing all these civilizations, let us now understand why we need to learn ancient history. What is the need for us to know what happened before our times? This is where we get a better understanding of the world. The world which we live now in and see around us is not the only thing. We have to know what happened earlier before us to get a better understanding of the humans, whereby we can analyze both the economic and the political system established in ancient times. Through this, we will come to know of the cultures, the life of the people in that area, as well as the political and the economic environment of the people. It will also help us to understand what is the present state of the values and norms followed in the society. This will help us to make a comparison between what is the present history and the ancient history. When we come to know of the ancient history, this will help us to modify and rethink the present values we have in our civilization. Also, general awareness and knowledge will improve when we come to know of ancient civilizations. We have to understand that the present day's life might have altered our personality and character. But when we compare it with ancient civilization, we have to understand that it is not just political and advanced civilizations which they had earlier, but also the personality of the people whereby different cultures came together to develop it. We come to know of facts which might have been lost over the period. This will help us to understand how archaeology has helped us to understand man and also the way of life of the people. This is where we develop our own social skills also, and definitely if we learn ancient history, our quality will improve in the present time. So thank you everyone. Here in this lecture I have discussed the ancient civilization and also drawn a parallel with our present day living, showing that we can learn a lot from our ancestors. Thank you.